The morning sun of Kepler 442b cast long shadows across the Galactic Defense Force training compound as recruit Marcus Torres stood at attention with his fellow cadets. The gravity here was lighter than Earth's, only about 0.8 g, making every movement feel strangely effortless to the young human. Drill Sergeant Cortex, a massive Thactari warrior with natural bone armor and forearms, paced before the assembled multi-species training platoon. His eyes, all four of them, lingered disapprovingly on Marcus as he conducted the morning inspection. "Today, we test your worthiness to carry the weapons of the Galactic Defense Force," Cortex announced, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had survived 3 major interstellar conflicts. "Each species will demonstrate their capability with standard military equipment. The other recruits Zephyrians with their crystalline exoskeletons, Vortaki with their enhanced cybernetic limbs, and Karani with their dense muscular structure stood confidently in formation. Marcus, at 6 feet tall and seemingly ordinary by comparison, looked distinctly out of place among the naturally enhanced alien physiques. Recruit Veltar, a Vortaki with glowing neural implants, snickered audibly. "Sergeant, are we really expected to train alongside a baseline human? Their species lacks any significant physical enhancements." "Yeah," added recruit Thaxara, a Karani whose natural muscle density was 3 times that of most species. "Humans are persistence hunters from a low-gravity world. They're built for endurance, not strength. This one probably can't even lift a standard plasma rifle." A wave of harmonious laughter, or the equivalent in various alien physiologies, rippled through the non-human recruits. Marcus maintained his military bearing, but Sergeant Cortex noted the slight tightening around his eyes. "Recruit Torres," Cortex called out, "step forward." Marcus moved to the center of the training ground, where an array of weapons had been laid out on reinforced tables. Standard plasma rifles, particle beam cannons, gravity hammers, and at the end of the line, the weapon that made even veteran soldiers pause, the M47 quantum destabilizer. "Let's start simple," Cortex said, gesturing to a standard plasma rifle. "Show your fellow recruits you can handle basic equipment." Marcus picked up the plasma rifle with casual ease, checking its balance and sight alignment with practiced movements. The weapon, designed for multi-species use, weighed approximately 15 kilograms, heavy enough to require respect from most species. "Basic proficiency demonstrated," Cortex noted without enthusiasm. "Now something more challenging." He pointed to a particle beam cannon, a squad support weapon that typically required 2 operators for most species. The PBC-12. Standard operating weight, 47 kilograms. Most recruits require assistance to move it. Marcus stepped forward and, to the surprise of the watching aliens, lifted the cannon with both hands and held it in a proper firing stance. His movements were steady, controlled, showing no strain despite the weapon's significant mass. "Interesting," muttered recruit Sareth, a Zephyrian whose crystalline structure gave him enhanced strength. "But that's still within baseline capability for determined effort." Sergeant Cortex mandibles clicked the Thactari equivalent of a thoughtful expression. "Very well. Let's see how the human handles something more substantial." He led the group to the end of the weapons array, where the M47 quantum destabilizer sat on a specialized cradle. The weapon was massive, a 2-meter-long cannon that weighed 130 kilograms and was designed to be operated by power-assisted exoskeletons or vehicles. "The M47, Cortex announced, anti-armor weapon designed to destabilize molecular bonds in heavy targets. No recruit in the history of this training facility has been able to lift it unassisted. Most experienced soldiers require powered assistance to operate it effectively." The alien recruits nodded knowingly. The M47 was legendary in GDF service, devastatingly effective, but so heavy that only the strongest species with mechanical assistance could deploy it manually. Well, human? Veiltar taunted. Let's see your low-gravity endurance. Handle a real weapon. Marcus stepped up to the M47, running his hands along its reinforced housing and checking the grip point. He could hear the aliens behind him placing bets on whether he'd even be able to budge it. What they didn't understand was that Marcus Torres wasn't from a low-gravity world. Earth's gravity was 9.8 meters per second squared, higher than 90% of inhabited worlds in the galaxy. What they dismissed as baseline human physiology was actually the result of evolution on one of the most gravitationally demanding worlds that had produced spacefaring life. Marcus bent his knees, positioned his grip carefully, and lifted. The M47 quantum destabilizer rose smoothly from its cradle. Marcus didn't struggle, didn't strain. He simply picked up the 130-kilogram weapon as if it were a particularly bulky tool and held it in a stable firing position. The silence that followed was absolute. "How?" Recruit Thaxara whispered, his natural muscle density suddenly seeming inadequate. "That's impossible. No biological organism should be able to handle that mass without assistance." Marcus rotated the weapon, demonstrating perfect control as he moved it through various firing positions. "Sergeant, weapon is ready for targeting exercises. Should I run the standard training protocol?" Sergeant Cortex stared at the human recruit, 4 eyes wide, with something approaching awe. "Recruit Taurus, what is the gravity level of your homeworld?" "Standard Earth gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared, Sergeant. Most humans train under 1 g from birth." The implications hit the alien recruits like a plasma bolt to the chest. While they had evolved on worlds with gravity ranging from 0.6 to 0.9, humans had spent their entire evolutionary history fighting against a gravitational field that was significantly stronger than what most species considered normal. "You're telling us," Veiltar said slowly, "that every human grows up carrying what amounts to a 20% gravity handicap compared to most species?" "More like 30% compared to the galactic average," Marcus replied matter-of-factly. "This training facility actually feels quite light to me. I could probably carry 2 M47s if necessary." Recruit Sareth's crystalline form had shifted to a pale blue, the Zephyrian equivalent of shock. "We've been mocking a species that develops under conditions that would crush most of us." Sergeant Cortex began to laugh, a deep rumbling sound that indicated genuine respect in Thaktari culture. "Recruits, you have just learned the first lesson of multi-species military cooperation. Never assume you understand another species' capabilities based on appearance." He gestured to Marcus, who was still casually holding the massive weapon. "Humans may not have natural armor, enhanced neural systems, or cybernetic augmentation, but they have something else they've spent their entire evolutionary history fighting against a gravitational field that would challenge most galactic species." As the training session continued with Marcus effortlessly demonstrating proficiency with increasingly heavy equipment, the alien recruits began to understand that their human colleague represented something unique in the galaxy, a species that had built strength not through genetic enhancement or technological augmentation, but through the simple, relentless pressure of evolving under conditions that would break most other life forms. "Recruit Torres," Sergeant Cortex said as the session concluded, "you've just qualified for heavy weapons specialist training. Congratulations, you're the first recruit in Academy history to achieve that designation without mechanical assistance." Marcus set down the M47 with the same casual ease he had displayed throughout the demonstration. "Thank you, Sergeant. Should I continue with the endurance testing, or would you prefer to move on to the long-distance carrying exercises?" The other recruits exchanged glances that held a new understanding. They hadn't been training alongside a weak human. They had been training alongside someone who considered a 130-kilogram weapon to be light equipment. From that day forward, no one questioned whether humans belonged in the Galactic Defense Force. The only question was whether the rest of the galaxy was ready for what humans could do when they weren't holding back.